He's wealthy, living in a wealthy part of Southern California. He's 21 years old, driving a BMW, and just look at how mad he's become. Now you might say that's an extreme case, right? No, that's the monster that's within. That monster has been fed by hedonistic propaganda. And we've been feeding on that same propaganda. Do you know what he did the next day? He went out on the University of California Santa Barbara campus and killed 27 students. So, of course, the media is focusing on, well, he must be some kind of of course, he died also in this shooting. But the media says he must be a psychopath. But no, what you hear him spouting is just extreme versions of the desires that everyone has. And he's blaming the girls. You've given yourself to so many inferior men. You've never given yourself to me. I'm 21 and still I haven't had a girl. He's bought in completely. He's bought in completely to the dream, to the nightmare. So you might say, well, we would never go that far. But this is what it's like to be haunted. You become someone else. So there you see the end result of rampant material desires. Krishna explains this in the second chapter of Bhagavad-Gita. We talked about that Friday. By contemplating the objects of the senses, attachment develops. Then from attachment comes lust, and from lust must come anger, because the lust is never fulfilled. So he was so twisted and distorted by the inability to fulfill his lusty desires that he went on a rampage. Killed 27 or so students the next day. He stormed the sorority house and killed some female students. They went out in the street and just shot bystanders. Finally, the police finished him. So should you look at it that he's just some isolated psychopath? Or should you look at it that here's a guy who bought into the whole illusion? He became mad. So how much mad are we? So as Bhagavad-Gita explains, this is what happens when love of God goes sour, becomes distorted. That same intensity, if he would apply it to his enlightenment, how great he'd be. That same intensity. And he was kind of eloquent in a mad way, wasn't he? Yeah. If he would just apply that intensity to reviving his dormant love of God, how successful his human life would be. If he would use his money in that way. He's a 21-year-old guy driving a BMW, hasn't even finished university, you know? Father's a Hollywood movie producer, mother's a Hollywood actress. But all that opulence, all that good fortune, totally misused, abused. And the end result, he's dead at 21 after killing 27 persons. So let's not take our material desires to be so innocent. The whole path of bhakti is about purifying the lower self so that your higher self reemerges, reasserts itself. Now sometimes there's a bogus so-called yoga philosophy going around that in order to reach the higher self, you have to burn out the lower self. So the more you indulge in the lower self, it'll finally just be burnt out, and then presto, you rise up to the higher self platform. Any of you ever fall for that notion? It was popular in the 80s and is still around today. That if you really want to get to the real self, you got to burn out the lower self by overindulging in hedonism. And then one day, after your overdose of hedonism, you just, wow, yeah, my real self. It's not going to happen. It's madness. The more you engage in self-destructive activities, the more your real identity becomes unknown to you. So you see, that young man was destroyed by a monster, and he destroyed others. The intelligent human being thinks, how am I going to become purified? How will my consciousness become purified? As Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita, the yogi is one who acts with mind, body, and words, all for the purpose of purification. So you might say, why purification? Purification is the medicine to correct the disease of interrupted pleasure. Pleasure that has a beginning and end. That's a disease.